Few in the team first into Iraq to help rebuild it after the fall of Saddam knew much about the country.
We were using a Lonely Planet guidebook from sometime in the early 90s. It's a great guidebook, but it shouldn't be the basis of an occupation.
The US government was warned that creating a new Iraq would be the most complex nation-building project since Germany after World War II. Then, planning began 3.5 years before Hitler's defeat. In Iraq, it began in earnest just 2 months before Saddam was overthrown.
Just as we had a strategy for war, so we have a strategy for peace.
Many now believe that neither George Bush nor Tony Blair had a strategy for after the invasion.
The plan, the long-term plan, was we do not need a plan.
This is the story of how the President and the Prime Minister together helped create the Iraq we have today.
Iraq will be better, better for the region, better for the world, better above all for the Iraqi people.
Several 100,000 Iraqis have been killed and terribly injured since the invasion. Around 4 million have been displaced. More than 4,100 coalition troops have died, 171 of them British. And at an estimated cost to the US of $460 billion and at least £5 billion to the UK.
The establishment of a free Iraq at the heart of the Middle East will be a watershed event in the global democratic revolution.
And so it would be, but it may all be too late.
Morning, sir.
Morning. How are you, sir? Good.
This man wanted to reinvent warfare for the 21st century. Donald Rumsfeld was President Bush's hawkish Secretary of Defense. For Rumsfeld, preemptive strikes and invasions were in, peacekeeping and nation-building afterwards, out. How would this achieve the president's long-term objective of creating a free, stable, and democratic Iraq in the world's most volatile region? Today, the British military establishment say Rumsfeld's approach was intellectually bankrupt.
You don't intervene just to go and defeat Saddam Hussein's forces and remove him. What you're trying to do is actually to move a country out of some dark age, probably change regime, but to move it towards a position, here we are, an end state, at peace with itself, at peace with its neighbors, with political institutions starting to grow and to become founded, an economy starting to grow. Easy to say, very complex to do.
Colin Powell, the US Secretary of State, thought so too. He feared America would get bogged down for years, just as they had in Vietnam. As the top general in Gulf War I, Powell had helped drive Saddam back from Kuwait, stopping short of toppling him. Unlike Powell, neither Rumsfeld nor his allies like Vice President Cheney had ever seen combat.
Good flying. God bless you all. See you back stateside as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Powell regarded the apostles of the Bush Middle East vision that democracy would flow from liberation as dangerously ideological.
I'm told Colin Powell has referred to Messrs. Rumsfeld, Cheney as the crazies. Was that true?
It was not uncommon for the Secretary to use such language as the Gestapo, the Nazis, dysfunctional decision-making process, broken decision-making process.
They regarded Powell and his State Department as unenlightened.
Well, we were suddenly the forces of evil and darkness. There was an ideology, there was an orthodoxy, there was a catechism, there was a liturgy. And therefore, instead of being agree, disagree, it was right or wrong. It was good and evil. And so you didn't have a difference of opinion you were evil. And there was something medieval churchish about it, and including the sense of the Inquisition. This is the first truly ideological administration that we've ever had.
Ever in the history of the United States.
To understand what it would take to build from scratch a democracy when Iraq had no experience of politics and violence as separate activities, the State Department began a study. They researched everything from health reform, local government and farming to ending corruption. It was clear the task would be Herculean. But Number 10 was warned that the president did not seem to be showing very much interest in how to go about this. Mr. Blair's foreign policy advisor told him, Bush has yet to find the answer to the big question: what happens on the morning after? This warning was followed up with a telegram from the British ambassador on the eve of the first of Mr. Blair's Iraq summits with the president.
I suggested a number of things that should be at the top of his agenda. One, of course, was trying to build an international coalition. But I think I said, and above all, start getting them to focus on what next if and when we drove Saddam from office.
You put a special emphasis on the